Yo, welcome back to some Warframe enlightenment. Unless you don't like it, then just welcome back to another video. First of all, I like to say 700 subscribers. Thank you very much. I have seen other YouTubers and their videos, and mine really couldn't compare to them, but you guys decided to stick around anyway, so thank you for that. I will try my best to improve over time, and if this keeps up and my channel grows big enough to the point where I could do this every day, you will definitely see me a lot more frequently. So today's video is about calculating actual damage done on enemies. This is a topic that I feel a lot of YouTubers avoid because it's very messy and unpleasant. If you know of someone doing this as well, please link the video at the comment section below. I would really like to see how they try to explain this. Okay, let's start. Remember this video? It was sent to me by one of the viewers asking about the high damage dealt and why. I was in a hurry as usual, and based on the information given to me, I made the most logical assumptions to answer him, which by coincidence show matching figures. I believe no one knew my mistakes but me from watching it again the next day, so I unlisted the video that I messed up and plotted my revenge video, which is this one. I will put the old videos link below at the description in case you guys want to see how I messed up, because it's always a fun sight. So first we'll do an easy calculations, which is on the unarmored enemies, and then we'll do one armored, and finally we'll look back to this video and solve that figure. So let's bring out the spreadsheets. So over here are some equations that we'll be using, and they are all things that I've explained before in the previous video. If you still have questions about it, I'll put some link at the description below on where I found them in Wiki. So if you need to check them out, you can go ahead and do that. Now we're gonna do the unarmored enemies first. Okay, so what we want to find is the final damage. This is the damage that you see coming out on when you hit the enemy. Alright, so it is equals to the base damage, which is the damage done from your weapon, times bracket 1 plus hit point modifier. So the hit point modifier and the armor modifier is that thing that, remember we did one video on the weaknesses of the health types. Yeah, so those percentage shown in the chart are all the hit point modifiers and also armor modifiers. Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit more later. So it's quite straightforward how the final damage is being calculated, and this part where the bracket is actually your damage modifiers for unarmored enemies. Okay, so let's take one look at an example. So over here we are looking at the charger. A charger is like, you know, we are all really familiar with how it works, as in how it looks like and stuff. So it has a base level of 1. It has an infested flesh of 80. Okay, and it's weak against gas, 75%. Okay, and the weapon that I'm gonna use, which is gonna do pure gas damage of 443.3. Okay, let's say we have a level 20 charger. So the final damage done is this amount, and how do we get this? It's basically following this final damage equation. Okay, so it is the base damage, which is the damage done from a weapon, which is 443.3, and then times 1 plus the hit point modifiers, which is 0.75, and that's how you get the final damage. Okay, and this is really cool because this means from what you can see here, it doesn't matter the level it is. It could be a level 100, it could be level 200, 300, 400, whatever. As long as it doesn't have armor, you will always do the same amount of damage on the charger. Okay, so that is kind of cool to me. I don't know if it's cool to you. Anyway, let's take a look at it in a real situation. Okay, so here we have Unarmored, and I'm going to show you how I mod it. For the frame itself, we are not modding it with anything, so no steel charge and stuff like that. For the weapon, you just really have to pay attention on the pure gas damage of 443.3. That's the value that we use to calculate it. So yeah, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna summon charger at level 20. I'm gonna summon a few so we could just, like, you know, try them out one by one. Now the first one kind of did a headshot, I believe, so the damage was a lot. So there you go, that's our first 775. There's another 775, and there you go, another 775, and also the last 775. Now the reason why the others die could be because of the gas, because I'm using gas, and whenever it procs there's a cloud and kills them without me even hitting them. And also the difference in damage, now that is still debatable. I haven't quite figured it out yet. I have some ideas on why the damage range so much, but meanwhile I'm not going to talk much about it. It's just purely on the final damage in this video. So let's take a look at armored enemies, and they are a lot more confusing, well, to me at least. Okay, so first of all, the damage modifiers is represented by this equation. This whole equation is the damage modifiers. It's actually a summary, and it's combined with also the net armor and also damage reduction, so all those things are already inside here. And then it also has the damage modifiers from the hit point modifier as well. Okay, and finally the final damage is the base damage again, which is the damage from your weapon times with the damage modifiers. And there will be a few types of final damage, and you have to combine the different types of final damage to produce your final damage. So anyway, let's just go to the examples. So here is an enemy, the corrupted heavy gunner that we always use, and then here we know the base level is 8, the clone flash is 700, ferrite armor is 500. Now the modifiers for the clone flash is 25%. Okay, for the ferrite armor, for corrosive is 75%. Now a lot of people will perceive this as 75% extra damage on ferrite armor, which is not right. And I think when I did the video on the factions, I also said that I actually used the word, like, you know, 75% extra damage on ferrite armor, but that is not the case. Okay, so what it actually does is the 75% is the reduction on the armor if it has ferrite armor, and then the heat it still does to the clone flash, but then that damage has to undergo the damage reduction and everything like that through this formula. And so yeah, okay, now let's just go into calculations. So here I'm having the twin basslock, and from that weapon I managed to bump up the damage to heat damage of 395.2, corrosive damage of 374.4. Alright, now we're going to use a level 20 heavy gunner, and it has armor of 693.4. Now this value is basically using this. I actually color coded them all if you haven't noticed. So the purple one is actually using this formula, the armor. So the base armor, depending on the level, it scales to. So that's why there is the current level. So by putting that in, okay, by putting the, yeah, it's just the same thing. Anyway, I mentioned this equation before in another previous video, so you should understand what to do here. Okay, so yeah, that's how I get the current armor. Okay, it's current armor at level 20. Then after that, we're gonna go for the damage multiplier of heat. Now the way you do this is a little bit interesting because you actually have to do one at a time. So let's say for heat, you want to use this equation, the damage multiplier over here. Okay, so HM will be your hit point modifier, so you know it's 0.25. Okay, but when it comes to AM, which is your armor modifier, you want to leave it at 0 because it's separate. You do not want to combine them. So you want to put this as 0, and then you divide, and then you follow the whole thing. So over here, AR is the armor after all debuffs. That means if you have corrosive projection, you have to take that into consideration. If you I don't know, did a corrosive proc on it, you have to take that into consideration and stuff like that. So but we are not running any corrosive proc, and we're not running okay, although we are running with corrosive, but I kind of make sure that the damage that we recorded is before corrosive proc occur. Okay, so therefore do not worry about the proc from corrosive as well. Okay, and the armor is going to be using the current armor at level 20, and then again 1 minus AM, and AM has to be 0 again. Okay, so this is the damage modifier for heat. Yeah. Okay, and then the next one is for corrosive, and it's the same thing, only thing this time the hit point modifier is 0, and everything else is followed with the corrosive armor modifier. Okay, and then you get this value. And what you want to do now is to find the final heat damage and the final corrosive damage. So final heat damage is taken by the heat damage that your weapon produced, the base damage of your heat, okay, and then multiply by the heat damage modifier. Oh my god. Okay, yeah. Then yeah, that's basically it. And then for the corrosive is the corrosive damage. Then you times it with the corrosive damage modifier, and then you get this 2 value. And then what you do next is the final damage. That's in the damage that you see will be the sum of this 2. So this 2, add them together, and you get this amount. So again, we have Inaros, and not gonna mod it with anything, so don't worry about steel charge and stuff like that. Then we're gonna look at the twin Baslock, and the main thing that you want to pay attention to is the heat damage and corrosive damage is exactly the same amount as we use in our calculations. Then of course I go ahead and summon a level 20 corrupted heavy gunner. Now when you go forth with fighting the heavy gunner, you want to make sure that you block first, let him do his slam. Alright, so there you go, 564 exactly in the first hit. Let's take a look at the second one. Again, 564. Now this is interesting because this means, since it is an obvious corrosive proc, by having the same amount of damage, this means that the armor reduction is done after the damage is being dealt. After that, I'm doing a lot more damage because of the armor reduction. Before we go and solve that real damage in a mission, I like to state the mistakes I made in the failed video. First of all, Shooty was kind enough to include his own calculations, and I was just so lazy and I just corrected it based on his methods, which was sadly incorrect. Secondly, which was also the part that is most challenging for me to realize, was that the enemy he stated in the video wasn't just a Lancer. And it took many replays to realize when I saw this. The normal Lancer uses a Drakata, and ladies and gentlemen, that was obviously a Hein, used by the elite Lancers, which is weak against radiation. So not only were the methods wrong, but we were calculating based on the wrong enemy. God damn. So finally we come down to the elite Lancer, and all the information here, most of it is actually taken from wiki itself. Base level, clone flash, armor, viral radiation modifiers. But the secure elector is given to me by Shooty, and he actually sent me his screenshot. And what I did was I tried to replicate this damage by playing around with the mods, and I did manage to find out that he's using 4 dual stat mods and 1 either a coal or a toxin elemental mod, and that will give this exact figure. Alright. And then we're gonna take a look at the level. Now, sadly again, the level given to me was inaccurate. It's actually a level 36 at wave 6. So that was the wave where he took the screenshot, so we have to use that particular amount, or I mean that particular level. Okay, the armor he'll get is this amount, 406. Okay, but he also mentioned that there are 2 allies using corrosive projection, so you're gonna remove 60% out of this amount. So therefore what I did here was I just times 0.4, so that will take away the 60%. And then based on this armor value, which will be your new AR, you're gonna calculate your damage modifier for viral. Okay, for viral, using the viral modifier, and then using the armor after CP, and then again with the damage modifier for radiation. Okay, same thing. And then we could find our final damage for viral and final damage for radiation, and what you need to do is add them together, and this is the damage. So this damage is what he would do if he doesn't have steel charge on, but he does have steel charge on, and he's not doing normal attacks, he's doing spin attacks. So now we have to take a look at spin attacks, and we have to consider steel charge. Okay, so let's take a look at spin attacks. Now, depending on the weapon, it could have a variety of different spin attacks. So for the Sekiro Electa, the base spin attack is 161, and whatever you put on, the mods will scale based on this base damage. Alright, so he had 4 dual stat mods, which is 60% times 4 will give you 240%, and 1 elemental mod, either coal or toxin, and that will give you up to 330%. So what I did was I take this value times or add an extra 330%. Okay, now with pressure point, he will get this amount. Okay, with pressure point you add an extra 120%, and you will get this amount, and it's really close to the displayed amount on his arsenal. I do not know why there is a variation, slight variation of 1 damage, but this is why I could make sense of. It should be this amount. I do not know why it displays that amount. And then finally you're gonna add the steel charge in. Now keep in mind that the pressure point and also steel charge, they belong in the same damage multiplier, so you kind of have to add them together. So what I did was steel charge is 60%, pressure point was 120%, so add them together you get 180%, and I just take this value and add an extra 180%, so I bypass this figure here. Okay, and then I have this one. Now this will be the spin attack damage that you'll be doing with all the multipliers in. But it's not done yet. You have to split this amount into 2. One causing viral damage, another causing radiation damage. And to be accurate, what I did was I did some kind of ratio thing. So basically I take the ratio of viral among both of them, and then times with the total damage, and you could get the damage for viral, and then I did the same thing to get radiation. Alright, so that is basically playing with ratio, and use this ratio to implement here to get your viral and radiation damage. Okay, and finally we come here to get our final spin viral damage, which is this one, again with the damage modifier from viral. Okay, and another one with the viral, with the radiation, and finally add them up together and you get this one. So a normal spin damage should give up to 2.6k damage, but since he had Unarmored on, he'll go invisible and he'll gain stealth damage. So now you're gonna take this amount and you're gonna times 8, okay, because stealth damage is 8 times. So after that you have to consider the combo multiplier as well. So by the 5th hit, or after 4 hits, the 5th hit will be 1.5 damage. extra. All right, extra 1.5 damage, no extra, 1.5 damage. So you're gonna take this amount, the 20k times 1.5, and you get 31k, which is very close to the value that you saw in his screenshot. Okay, and just next to it you see something like 37k, and that is because the enemy next to him is taking a critical hit. Okay, so now critical and stealth, we did mention this before, they do not multiply between each other, but they will just add together. So since the Sakura Electa has a 1.5 critical damage, so instead of 8 times, now you're just gonna add the 1.5 into the 8, so you get 9.5 damage. Alright, and also same thing, because it's most likely more than the 5th hit, so it's gonna be 37k, and another one at around 31k. Okay, so that is how it works. I'm gonna post this spreadsheet. I'm gonna put a link at my description. You can go and check it out. It's actually a website that I was working on like a year ago or something like that. You can just like ignore the content, just go in and look for the spreadsheet for this thing. Everything is actually just hidden, so let me show you. I can actually unhide everything, and here is the unarmored enemy, and if you scroll down, this is the second example, and then if you scroll down some more, you have the third example, which is the one that I just talked about. So that's all for the video. I guess I have to say this again, but I kind of have a stage name now, which is
Zelp.
I also have a Twitter account that you guys could keep in touch with me. It's kind of been there for a real long time, but I've never used it, so I'm still not very familiar with how to use it. I know I live in a cave, there's no birds, and yeah, so I guess for the second time, this is Zelp, wishing you a pleasant day, Tenno. Wait, and subscribe and like if you want to see more.